YouTube channel. My name is Megan, just in case you don't know me already, and I have a really exciting video for you today. I'm going to be trying out the new Revolution and Friends collection. This is part 2. So I'm going to be testing out the Grab a Coffee face palette, and I'm also going to be trying out the Use Her Lobster on my eyes. So I'm really excited to use this palette because it looks beautiful. And if you are new here, welcome. Make sure you stick around and hit that subscribe button, and let's get into the video. So I'm going to be starting off with this, which is the Grab a Coffee face palette. And when I saw the photos of this, I was really intrigued by it, but I wasn't expecting it to be so big. It's huge. It's a really cute baby pink packaging with the Central Perk written on it, and then opening it up, this is what it looks like. It's gonna look really cute stood up, she says. It's gonna look really cute like stood up and over here, but I have to say it is huge. It is such a big palette. This is also cruelty free and vegan, which is really good. Has this like foam packaging that I've never seen before on a palette, and this feels like a little bit leathery. Plastic handle, that's pretty flimsy to hold, but you can hold it. Then opening it up, opens from the bottom, and this is what it looks like this. As you can see, it's like 9 pans of face palette. So it's got highlighters, bronzers and contour shades. This is the light to medium palette. They also do a dark to deep dark palette, which is really great. However, some of these shades look like they might not work on me. Like, for example, this highlighter shade here, I know that I'm not going to be able to get away with that highlighter shade. Overall, I think it's a really good palette. I'm hoping that these shades at the bottom here are ones where you can build it up and they don't look as bad on the face than they do in the pan, but we'll see when we do some swatches and we'll try it all out. I'm taking a guess, now this is just purely guess, at the top row are highlighters, then we've got bronzers on this middle row and contour shades on this bottom row. I feel like this column here is going to work really well for me, and I think this column here will work well for me, and then I feel like I can get away with that shade as well. But you can dip into any shade that you desire. You can use whichever shade that you wanted to, wherever you wanted to do that. And then it's got some really cute indents of coffee cups on there. I think that's just a really nice added touch. Let's give it a go on the face. So I did also pick up the Open the Door palette that's right here. So I am going to give this palette another go when I review that palette as well. So any shades that I don't use, I'm probably going to use in that video. I'm going to try and use all the shades that I think I can get away with in either this video or that video. So I'm going to start off by swatching the 3 highlighters in the palette, and we've got the shades Black Coffee, Flat White and Espresso. So we've got the shade Black Coffee, that looks like that. That was a poor swatch. I've got the shade Flat White and the shade Espresso, and that's what the 3 highlighters in the face palette look like. This bottom shade's really thrown me, this espresso shade, because I thought that would be in the deep to dark palette, but I'm not sure that light to medium will get away with this shade, but I could be wrong. And next I'm going to swatch the bronzers. So well, this is what I would say were bronzers, I'm not sure. Use them wherever you want. So we've got the shade Latte, Cappuccino and Macchiato. So we've got Latte, got Cappuccino and we've got Macchiato, and that's what those 3 swatch like. I actually think I could get away with all of those. I think all of those will work for me. This top shade is quite pale, but it's going to be perfect when I go a little bit crazy. with my bronzer as usual, but it's going to be really nice to blend that out. And then the 3 shades on the bottom are called Chai, Iced and Doppio? Doppio. Is Doppio coffee?
Doppio. Doppio espresso, for example.
Okay, so I just looked up how to pronounce this word, and I believe it's doppio. Doppio. Do I sound Italian? Doppio. So we've got chai, we've got iced, and we've got doppio. Okay, so they do look a little bit deeper than I thought they were going to be. I was hoping the shade would be a little bit cool toned, but it's not. But to be fair, Revolution advertised the palette on their website to be like a warm kind of tone palette. Yeah, I'm not sure I'll get away with these shades, but definitely medium skin tone should be able to get away with these shades. Maybe with a light hand, but I'm not very good at doing a light hand, especially when it comes to bronzer. I'm gonna go with the shade Chai because I'm curious to see if it will actually work on my skin tone, and then hopefully that will be helpful to you as well. So I'm just gonna dip in super light and then use a contour brush to contour with this shade. It was a little bit deep for me, but I used a really light hand. I'm never going to run out of that shade because of how little that I used, but I thought it worked quite well. I think I'm going to take the shade Latte today. I'm stuck between latte and cappuccino if I'm honest, but I think I'm going to go with the shade Latte, and I'm going to use that to bronze up. I'm going to use a bit more of a fluffier brush and use that to bronze the face. And for my highlighter, I'm going to take this top shade called Black Coffee, and I'm going to try it on a Beauty Bay Glow Up brush. I'm going to try this brush, but I want to give it a go. Yeah, I'm really happy with that highlighter shade. I really like the colour. I'd say it was like a nice goldeny, champagne kind of colour. I really like that shade. So this is everything with the face palette. What do you think? I'm really impressed. I really like the highlighter, I really like the bronzer. I don't know about the contour shades because I really like a cool toned contour shade, so it's not a contour shade for me. But I'm really happy to just bronze up the face with this palette and use that highlighter. It's really pretty. And next I'm going to be trying out the Here's Her Lobster palette, and this is what the packaging looks like. It's got the same pinky kind of packaging with the lobsters all over. I have to say the design team for the entire Friends collection have nailed it. Like, I love these little illustrations all the way around, and even for the Cinderella collection, beautiful packaging and illustrations and things. Like, love it. This is what the palette looks like out of the outer sleeve packaging. Once again, this is huge. It is so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I swear it doesn't look this size on the photos. Just for size comparison, this is the Love Tahiti palette and this is the Lobster palette, and they're near enough the same size. The only difference is this has 40 shades in and this has 21 shades in. So open it up and this is what the palette looks like inside. I have already swatched it because I was too excited not to swatch it, so it's already been, well, the shimmers have already been swatched anyway. So this is what the palette looks like. It has these like bright orange packaging that I love. So nice. And yeah, I think we should just get into some swatches. The first shade in the palette's called Planiversary, and that's what that looks like. The next shade we've got Ultimate Fighting Championship. That's the long shade name. Sorry, Champion. The next shade's called Ski Trip. Then we've got the shade Race Car. Then we've got the shade Visita. And we've got Stevie the TV. Then the final shade on the first row is called Could I Be? And that's what that looks like. And that's the first row completely swatched. It's such a nice neutral kind of row, that one. The second row, we've got the shade The Box. Then we've got the shade Transponster. And we've got the shade Beef Trifle. Next we've got the shade Vegas. Then we've got the shade Bagpipes. And we've got the shade Spray Tan, which felt so nice in the pan and has just swatched so beautiful. And the final shade on the second row is called Little Round Waffles, and that's what the second row looked like. Some really nice shades. First shade on the third row is called New York. Then we've got the shade Balcony. We've got the shade Nubbin. Oh, I really like that shade. That shade's really pretty. Next we've got the shade Badge. We've got the shade 10. And we've got the shade Legendary. Shade Legendary, that was a little bit crumblier than the others, but still swatch really pretty. Final shade in the palette is called Sightseeing, and that's what the final row looks like. Oh, swatch. It's such a pretty palette. It's so beautiful. Like, there's so many options, so many things that you could do. I'm really sweet up a choice. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. So I'm going to prime my eyes with the Revolution Ultimate Eye Base in the shade Light. And I'm going to buff that out with the Jessup 142 Concealer Buffer Brush. I'm going to start off with the shade 10 and I'm going to put that through my crease. I'm going to map it out like I'd normally do. And I'm going to take that on the M321 brush. And I'm not worried about blending as usual. And to blend that shade out, I'm going to take the shade Beef Trifle. And I'm going to blend that out with a Morphe 507 brush. I'm going to blend it out further with the Morphe M507 brush. And I'm going to blend that shade out further with the shade Vegas, this one right here, using a Morphe M506. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to intensify everything, go back over the shades, building and blending, that's what I usually do, and then I'll be right back. So this is one eye done and built up, and I just wanted to show you the difference. Like, so the colours really do build up really nice and like really intense, which is what I wanted. So I'm just going to do the exact same to the right. I'm back and my cut creases are on. I'm having a real hard time with these cut creases today, but we're trying at the palette, not my attempt at a cut crease. So I do just want to fix up this outside bit before I put a shimmer on, and to do that I'm going to take those shades that I took before, so that's the shade 10 and the shade Beef Trifle. And for my lid shade I'm actually going to take this shade Legendary, which is the orange kind of shade in the palette, and I'm kind of nervous because it's not really a shade that I normally go for, but it's Lobster and
can't think it looks a bit lobstery.
I'm going to spray my brush with this because it looked a little bit crumbly when I was swatching. A slightly bigger brush and wet that as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of the shade Could It Be, and I'm just going to use that to try and blend things together, and yeah, hopefully it blends with that shade. For my lower lash line I think I'm going to go in with this shade Rosita the Cita. And for the inner part, I'm going to take the shade Beef Trifle. For my inner corner, I'm going to go back into the face palette. I'm going to take this middle shade here called Flat White. And this is another way that you can use the face palette if not all the shades work for you. I'm going to take that on a Gesso 237 detail shader. And I'm also going to spray it. And I'm going to put a bit of the shade Black Coffee on my brow bone. This is what I'm looking like so far. I am going to go off camera and I'm going to apply some mascara and some eyelashes, lipstick, and I'll be right back to show you the finished result. I'm back and this is my finished look. To finish off the look, I lined my waterline with the Beauty Bay liner in the shade Stay Peachy. Love these set of eyeliners, really nice for like opening up the eyes. It's not too much of a colour but just enough. I then use the mascara Revolution. For blusher I use this little palette. This is part of the Flamingo range. They brought out the Forever Flawless Flamingo palette and they also brought out this little blush trio, and I use this shade here. I've used this a few times on my channel and I'll link some videos down below where I do actually use this palette. My lip combo is the MAC Bullet Lipstick and this is in the shade Velvet Teddy, and over the top using a lip brush I use the Revolution and Friends Rachel lip gloss, which is just a clear gloss that they brought out with the very first collection. This is the finished look. What do you think? You're laughing at me.
I can just see you.
You're laughing at me. Stop, you're laughing at me.
I just seen you corner of my screen, that's all. Waving your head. Sorry, boss, go on.
So yeah, I think we should just round up on what I thought of the products that I used today. So let's start off with the face palette, and this is the Grab a Coffee palette. This retails for £20 and you get 9 pans and they are pretty big. So do you need this palette? I'm gonna say no. It is quite expensive, it's very bulky, so unless you're a Revolution collector or you love Friends or you don't have a palette, or maybe yeah, if you are someone that fake tans, so maybe sometimes you're a little bit paler, like during lockdown maybe, but you just want to like bronze up a little bit, then I think this would be good because there's shades for when you're not tanned and then shades for when you are tanned. This shade up here, I'm just not sure why it's actually in this palette because I don't think it's going to work as a highlighter. I think the highlighter range could have been a little bit better, like also it's just so big, like could we have not had like some blusher shades Revolution, you know, to like fill up the space because the palette is so big, or like make it just like a little bit smaller, like I think that would be nice, but you do get a big mirror up here, but that's just my opinion on this face palette. And then moving on to the eyeshadow palette, here's her Lobster palette, and this is a 21 eyeshadow palette, and this is also quite big as I showed you before compared to the Love Tahiti palette. I love it. This palette is so nice, it's just right up my street. I can do something pretty cool tone, I can do something purpley, well, with a pop of purple. I can do something more pinky, something more reddy. You can do something more corally coloured, a burnt orange. I just think it's a really nice neutral palette. I'm definitely going to be playing with this even more, and if I'm honest, when I first bought it I was like, oh, should I have bought this palette? But I ended up buying it because I had 20% off, and then with the Revolution Rewards points I actually had £10 off, so that's why I ended up ordering this palette as well. I was definitely going to order the Open the Door palette and the coffee palette, but I wasn't sure about this one. But I am so glad that I picked this up. I love it, it's so nice, and the matte to shimmer ratio is really good too. Yeah, so there are 9 shimmers and then there's 11 mattes, which I think is a really good ratio. That's why I didn't pick up the Taxi palette, because I felt like there was too many shimmers to matte, and I definitely feel like it's worth £20. Thank you so much for watching my video today, and make sure you hit that like button if you did enjoy this video, and I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button whilst you're there. I have some really exciting videos coming up, and I'll see you in my next video.